I want to welcome everyone who is joining us anywhere and everywhere across the United States and further on what we have called Get Your Child Tax Credit EITC Day, or I should say Get Your Child Tax Credit EITC Day of Action, with the focus on action. The American Rescue Plan included a dramatic expansion of the child tax credit and the first ever monthly delivery. The American Rescue Plan also had a major increase for the earned income tax credit. Now, I am so old that I was here in 1993 at the White House when President Clinton created the first credit for workers without dependent children. I'm also old enough to have watched for 28 years as it was never increased once until the American Rescue Plan, until the Biden-Harris administration and Congress not only increased it, but tripled it to $1,500 and increased the eligibility for older and younger workers. And we finally, at long last, made lasting reforms for the children of Puerto Rico. Now, I will be direct. Everyone here wanted to be further at this point in having extended these two American Rescue Plan tax cuts. I assure you, no one in the Biden-Harris administration is not still fighting hard or has given up. But this day is about ensuring that all Americans eligible for the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit expansion receive them. Now, we knew from our first Child Tax Credit Awareness Day on June 14th that this meant implementation had to be both from the top down and the bottom up. We have learned together in meeting with groups across the country, in weekly calls, in deep dive meetings, that signing up everyone is challenging, that it requires perseverance, and not only smart federal policies and additional funding, but smart outreach, navigators, human touch from trusted sources in trusted places. Every time we have improved our efforts over this last year, it was due to consulting and listening with many of you, the grassroots champions of the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit. On this day of action, hundreds and hundreds of children's groups, nonprofits, foundations, advocacy groups for racial justice, rural communities, tribal government, Puerto Rico, foster youth, those with disabilities, have again risen to the call and have pledged events and actions throughout the tax filing season to help everyone get the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit. This includes mayors from across this country, from Mike Dugan in Detroit and Mayor Lori Lightfoot in Chicago to Daniel Levine Cava in Miami-Dade County. It includes a day of action event by 6 of our greatest congressional champions: Rosa DeLauro, Michael Bennett, Cory Booker, Reverend Warnock, Susan DelBene, and Sherrod Brown. It includes an all-of-government effort at outreach, at texting, at connecting people with our new childtaxcredit.gov. And these efforts go from Social Security Administration to the Department of Health and Human Services. It is truly a coalition for economic dignity. But if you are like me, nothing speaks more to the commitment of the Biden-Harris administration to the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit that the two women who agreed to be our champions today just happened to be the Vice President of the United States and the Secretary of Treasury. They are what you might call pretty high-level co-conspirators for economic justice. And this is not the first time, nor will it be the last, that they have worked together in this cause. They did not just wander into this auditorium. They have dedicated their lives to economic justice and reducing economic inequality. And while we have a special guest who's going to introduce the Vice President, I cannot fail to add one note to that introduction. In 2018, when Vice President Harris was Senator Harris, she was the principal author of the LIFT Act, which was one of the forerunners of the monthly payments. And I never saw anyone make a stronger case as to its importance for reducing predatory lending, reducing poverty, and lifting day by day, daily dignity. With that, I want to bring on one of those grassroots champions, one of the people who makes all the difference, of which nothing good can really happen without the efforts of people like this. Her name is Sharon Holquin. She has been a VITA volunteer since 2009. She is a dedicated volunteer, mom, grandma, and there's probably no one who better represents the people that are out there on this call today and more fitting to introduce the Vice President of the United States than Sharon. Sharon, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sharon Holquin, and I am born and raised in Washington, D.C., and I have been part of the VITA tax communication community since 2009. From that time, I have learned so much about the Earned Income Credit and the Child Tax Credit. I had raised my son and my grandson in a part of this program. However, I have learned so much from the program, as well as they have offered a lot of other programs with it as well when you apply for your tax return. It's very important for everyone to know the value of how you can get involved to receive the Earned Income Credit and the Child Tax Credit as well for your children and your family. From this, I have learned how to enjoy my life with my children, as well as to encourage other people in the community about it. Now, I would like to take this time, first time I ever met Vice President Harris, which is an honor to introduce her to the program, as she helps those who doesn't understand and to let them know that it's very important and they are here to help us, as well as to show us the direction of how we can live a better life. So as me having this opportunity, and it's an honor, I really appreciate her, admire her for all that she's done and all she's doing and all what she's about to do. So everyone who's listening, please take this opportunity to learn and to cherish and value that you are not alone, that we're all working with you and we're all working together. It doesn't matter how the level of your life is, there's still hope and there's still an opportunity to better your life. And I would like to introduce Vice President Harris so that she can share with y'all the value and the importance of this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharon, for that very meaningful introduction. And Sharon and I were talking earlier, you know, there's so much about the child tax credit that is about the impact, the intergenerational impact. And Sharon was sharing with me that her grandfather actually worked with President Kennedy. And we were talking about the fact that obviously her family has a long, strong, and deep commitment to public service and this good work. So thank you, Sharon, for that introduction. It is good to be here with two of the most energetic champions of our nation's working families, Secretary Janet Yellen and Jean Sperling. And as many of you know, Secretary Yellen and I are working on a number of things. Jean, I heard your introduction about the conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy. It's just a collaboration to do very important work to lift people up with one of the leaders in the world on how we do that in terms of economic empowerment. So Secretary Yellen, thank you. Jean Sperling, thank you for your years of hard work. You really are the backbone of what we as an administration have been doing with the child tax credit. So on this day of action, there are so many individuals and organizations who are dedicated to action. The United Way, AARP, and Code for America. And I want to thank all of you for the work you do every day and for joining us today. So our message today is simple. If you are eligible for the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit, we want you to get those credits. And you know why. Working families deserve a break. Last month, I received a letter from a mother in Pennsylvania. She and her husband have 4 children. They both work 50-hour weeks. They coordinate their schedules to minimize the cost of childcare, and their family is still barely holding on. They just need a little help, and that's what she told me in her note. A hand up, not a handout, a hand up. And I receive letters like this all the time. The truth is, there are people across our nation who work hard every day and still struggle to get by. And it should not be this way in our country, in the United States of America. And the President and I firmly believe that we have to do better. And that is why we fought to expand the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit as part of the American Rescue Plan, to give families and working people a little help. The American Rescue Plan increased the child tax credit and extended it to millions more families. And the American Rescue Plan also nearly tripled the maximum earned income tax credit and made it available to workers between 19 and 24 years of age, as well as to workers 65 years old and above. These tax credits help poverty by 40%. This is historic, and as I said earlier, will have generational impact. Millions of families have used their monthly child tax credit, CTC, check, to put food on the table, to save for college, to cover daily expenses, and to pay down debt. That is why this day of action is so important. If you are eligible for either of these credits, or even if you think you might be eligible, please go to the following website, childtaxcredit.gov, childtaxcredit.gov. It is a quick and easy way to check whether you qualify. And if you qualify, all you need to do to receive benefits is to file your taxes. Now, one more important note. If you are one of the more than 30 million families who have already received the child tax credit, you still need to file your taxes. So that is the only way to receive the second half of what you are owed. So remember, you are owed more, but you still need to file your taxes. Everyone here knows it will take a hands-on deck approach to get people signed up for these credits. So we need help. We need state and local governments to send out texts to remind folks of what they are entitled to receive. We need faith-based organizations to spread the word at houses of worship. We need community groups to get people the help they need to file their taxes. And we need everyone to spread the word, be it at Sunday dinner, at the barbershop, at work, at school, and at home. And I believe and I know our work will be worth it, because every family we lift up, when we do that, we lift up our entire nation. And that's why the President and I will keep fighting to extend these measures for years to come. And I'll close today where I began, with that mother from Pennsylvania. In her letter, she wrote that earlier this year, her family started receiving the monthly child tax credit. And with the money, she described that they bought food, they paid their daily expenses, and they supported local businesses in the process. She wrote, nothing fancy, just making a difference. So it's enough to make a difference. And that's why we are here today, to make a difference for working families across our nation, to offer just a little help. So thank you all for what you have done and will continue to do. Let's keep getting the word out, and be well and take care. Thank you.
Pass the child tax credit when Manchin says BBB is done. Can you give us any updates on the Supreme Court process?
As I introduce our next speaker, I want to say as coordinator of the American Rescue Plan, we focus on implementation of the American Rescue Plan. This is what President Biden believes so strongly in, that it's not just good enough to pass legislation. You have to implement. You have to make sure it reaches the people it is designed to reach. There probably was no greater implementation accomplishment than the fact that the child tax credit passed on just March 11th was within 4 months going out on a monthly basis to 61 million children. I want to thank the Department of Treasury for their partnership with the American Rescue Plan team, their weekly meetings, the leadership of their amazing Office of Tax Policy, their Deputy Secretary, Idiamo. But in the end, that responsibility, that focus on getting the child tax credit out monthly in just 4 months for the first time ever fell to two people, the Secretary of Treasury, Janet Yellen, and the IRS Commissioner, Chuck Rettig. And I want to thank both of them for their commitment and their leadership in making that happen. And now I am introducing, of course, our Secretary of Treasury, Janet Yellen. It's not a hard person to introduce because as former chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, former chairman of the Federal Reserve, and the current Secretary of Treasury, she perhaps has the best, or at least among the best, economic resumes in American history. But what I have seen from her is, as Alan Blinder used to say, the hard head, but the soft, compassionate heart. She is a person who cares about people. In 2006, when she was chair of the San Francisco Federal Reserve, she gave a powerful speech on economic inequality. And she said at one point, beyond education and training, the United States has long deployed an array of policy tools to combat inequality and diminish economic security. The real question is whether government should and can do more. Well, as Secretary of Treasury, Secretary Yellen has given a pretty resounding yes to the question she asked in 2006. And she's not only answered yes, yet she has used her position as Secretary of Treasury to lead on the Earned Income Tax Credit and Child Tax Credit and numerous other policies to make this country more fair and more just to all of its people. With that, I'd like to introduce our Secretary of Treasury, Janet Yellen.
Thank you, Jean, and thank you all for coming. And more importantly, thank you for the work you're doing to make sure these tax credits actually reach the people they're intended to help. I especially want to thank Vice President Harris. We would not be here today without her work. You know, there's a very famous story about Harry Truman. You've probably heard it. He once asked to be sent a one-armed economist. He didn't like the way his current economic counselors were advising him, always saying, on the one hand, before making a caveat, but on the other. Truman didn't like the equivocation. Well, I tell this story because had Harry Truman decided to expand the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit, he would have been quite pleased with his advisors. This is an issue where there actually are many one-armed economists, so to speak. There is very little equivocation that these policies lift up the lives of millions of people, and in so doing, lift up the country. They're good for the micro and the macro. I think about the research of economists like Larry Katz at Harvard. There's a whole body of literature around the EITC and what it does for single mothers and children. It improves mental health. It boosts employment and earnings. But Larry also found that expanding the EITC produces many of the same effects in single people without children. There's also a wide body of research around the child tax credit. For years, economists have studied government payments to families with kids, and they've found that the money is linked to all sorts of positive things: better health, higher lifetime earnings, better high school graduation, and college attendance rates. One recent study even found some evidence that when governments make cash payments to poorer mothers, there's better brain development in their babies. When we took office last January, I think many of us looked at research like this and saw expanding the CTC and the EITC as one of the most promising anti-poverty strategies we had in our arsenal, especially in the midst of the pandemic that swept millions of children and family under the poverty line. And so that's what the American Rescue Plan did. President Biden signed it into law a year ago on Friday. It made tax credits both more generous and fully refundable, meaning that even the lowest income families could get them. We had very high hopes for these policies. But as you've heard, the results lived up to even our most ambitious expectations. The last year witnessed the largest drop in child poverty in American history. After the first monthly CTC credit went out, food instability among low-income families with children dropped 43%. You could even see a nationwide sigh of relief in the data. 70% of caregivers reported that they were less stressed about making ends meet. And here's perhaps the most remarkable part. There's still so much money on the table. Most families have only received half of their child tax credits, or even less. And workers are only starting to see the expanded earned income tax credit now as they file taxes and get their refunds. I think there's a common notion, and it's an understandable one, that once Congress passes a big relief package like the American Rescue Plan, the rest is almost automatic. The biggest hurdle is getting a bill to the president's desk. The rest is easy. The truth, though, is that the machinery of government is complicated. It's rusty in some places, and it was not designed to do exactly this. The American Rescue Plan charged the IRS with figuring out how to get tens of millions of families a monthly advance on this year's child tax credit. But the agency had never delivered these kinds of payments before, certainly not on this scale, and to families whose incomes were low enough that they weren't required to file taxes. This is the problem we've spent many late nights solving over the past year, and your organizations have helped us. Together, we've built new tools for the IRS. We've redesigned the machinery of government, and as a result, we've sent out monthly payments to more than 30 million families, including 26 million lower-income children who received the full child tax credit for the first time. But our work, as I mentioned, is not done. There is still so many families who did not receive an advance payment. For example, because their child was only born last year and did not file a tax return before, or because they're a resident of Puerto Rico. In many cases, we're talking about families who are still entitled to $3,000 to $3,600, depending on the age of their child. Right now, the best way, and really the only way to get people this money, is for them to file their taxes. I know what a challenge that will be. Filing taxes can be hard, and we're talking about some of the hardest to reach people in this country, people to whom the government has far too often been blind, but who your organizations excel at serving. Your knowledge, your experience is what's required right now. And I can promise you that the U.S. Treasury will provide you with every resource we have to help you do the job. The last thing I'll say is these policies have already done enormous good. They've produced a profound moral and economic achievement for America. Imagine the new scale of that achievement, though, when we finally get these benefits to the people who need them most. Thank you.
Well, it's time to get to work. We've had two of the most powerful speakers we could have, the Secretary of Treasury, the Vice President, but we want to get very specific for people who are listening and watching now on what we are doing to help people actually sign up. As I said, implementation requires leadership from the top down and the bottom up. One of the things we want to do is make sure that we are using our resources, our technology, to make it as easy as possible for Americans to get the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Tax Credit. In doing that, we have put forward a new childtaxcredit.gov that can help any American who goes to that site do exactly that. I want to introduce right now Maurice Vinton. She works at the United States Digital Service Team, USDS, but we consider her a full-fledged part of the American Rescue Plan implementation team. She has been a key partner on the child tax credit from day one, a true champion, and she is now going to provide a demonstration for everyone on how you can use the childtaxcredit.gov, how you can help others use it. And so, Maurice, thank you for your work that you've done in developing this site. And if you could now help run people through how exactly they can use childtaxcredit.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. And thanks so much, everyone, for coming out today to learn how to help sign people up and get people their child tax credit and the ITC. So before I demo the website, what I wanted to do was tell a little story, the story behind the story, essentially, and how we got here. Over the last 9 months, we have worked with local governments, cities, states, municipalities, and counties, frontline workers, federal agencies. We've worked with advocacy groups across the country, nonprofit partners on the ground. We've also talked to individual tax filers and people who fall below the filing threshold that Secretary Yellen and Jean were talking about, new or non-filers. What we wanted to do is really understand their experiences with the child tax credit. What questions do they have, and how could we address that in the website? We heard time and time again kind of two main themes. There was some confusion around how to get it, some misconceptions, and also literally, how do I get it? What's that first step to go get the child tax credit and the EITC? And so what we did was we launched a website that focuses on two primary things. First and foremost, to help people get the free tax assistance that they need as soon as possible. I'll come back to that in a second, as well as just some information about the child tax credit, some new topics that have come up since the filing season began, some information about how it's different than the previous year's child tax credit, how to file taxes, eligibility. We also have an entire section on the expanded EITC. All of this reads at an 8th grade reading level, which is it's no small feat for taxes. So it's been quite an effort. The USDS team has been wonderful, as well as our colleagues at the Department of Treasury. So thank you, everyone. We have a section on Puerto Rico that's in both English and Puerto Rican Spanish, so that people can understand how they get the child tax credit in Puerto Rico. For advocates, we have a resources section so you can help get a bunch of downloads to help us sign up more people for the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit. So fairly straightforward. The site's available in Spanish and it's mobile friendly. Now on to our navigator. So in under 3 questions or less, we can get people the free tax support that they need and that's suitable for them. So you enter into the tool. There's the first set of questions is around your household income level. So let's say that this is you. Then we ask just a question about, kind of your comfort with taxes, if you want to do it yourself or somewhere in between, or if you want a lot of support. And then we ask if you would rather do this online or face-to-face. So this page has a bunch of great options and great services you'll hear about today. My Free Taxes is a great service from United Way in partnership with the IRS. They do full DIY as well as some support over the phone. AARP is a long-standing IRS partner who has both an online service and virtual and in-person locations. VITA is an IRS program with spots across the country. And I'll come back to that last one. So for families under $28,000, what we wanted to do is get them right to the answer. So this is both an in-person and an online option called Get Your Refund. It's developed by Code for America, who you'll hear from in just a second. It's very hands-on. It's a very straightforward tool available in both English and Spanish, and it's mobile friendly, and it gets people their child tax credit. So that is a quick run through of the new childtaxcredit.gov. Thank you all so much for all your efforts to help people receive these benefits. And now I'm going to hand it back to you, Gene.
Thank you so much, Marisi. I hope that was helpful for everyone. Please go on the site and take a look. We're now going to have a few of the major partners that Marisi mentioned who childtaxcredit.gov helps connect you with to help get filing. I will say in announcing our next 3 groups that I wish we had time to announce and hear from tens and tens of organizations who have worked hand in glove with us throughout this effort, from the Economic Security Project to Community Change to CSSP, Coalition on Human Needs, UNIDOS, Partnership for Americans' Children, the Aarp, Golden State Opportunity, Center for Budget and Policy Priorities, Children's Health Watch, Common Sense Media, Count All Kids, Humanity Forward, Moms Rising, the Universal Income Project, Century Foundation, Results, Network Lobby for Social Justice. I could go on and on. I won't, but it's important to understand how important key these partnerships are. But what I want to do now is introduce 3 of the people that Marisi mentioned and their organizations, which are Code for America, the AARP, and United Way. So the 3 speakers we will hear from now is first the CEO of Code for America, Amanda Renteria. Amanda has done many things, but her leadership at Code for America has been critical to this effort. Many of you remember that when we had a simple filing mechanism for people to sign up initially, it did not have Spanish and it was not mobile friendly. We were able to get up a site, a child tax credit site for people to get their child tax credit that was mobile friendly and did include Spanish right away. That was only done with our partnership with Code for America. All of us in this community are very grateful and thankful to Amanda and Code for America for doing that. Also, we have with us Lisa Marsh Ryerson from the ARP, or the head of the ARP Foundation. Lisa has spearheaded many of the efforts at the ARP Foundation to increase their economic opportunity and social connectedness, including the Root Cause Coalition. The ARP Foundation, as she will describe, provides in-person virtual tax preparation and help to anyone free of charge, and as she will discuss. And finally, we have the CEO of the United Way Worldwide, Angela Williams. You know, Angela, from her days working with Senator Ted Kennedy to her leadership at Easter Seals to the YMCA to now as CEO of United Way Worldwide, has consistently taken important leadership roles, and now United Way hosts over 300 VITA sites where people can sign up and get their full child tax credit, earned income tax credit. So let me now turn to these key partners, and we will start with Amanda.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vice President Harris, Secretary Yellen, and everyone who supports the child tax credit. Para todos que hablan español, bienvenidos a este momento también. I'm Amanda Renteria, or Renteria. I'm the CEO of Code for America, and we partner with government to improve systems in meaningful ways. We do that because we believe in the simple notion that government can and should work well for everyone. So when this administration made the bold statement to reduce child poverty and use the tax code to do it, we jumped in fully. Because over a decade, we've been leveraging technology to reach some of the hardest to reach communities in order to help them access government benefits. And so we knew it was a unique moment where we could build something special. We centered the people we intended to reach. We partnered with community groups across the country, and our Get CTC tool ended up distributing $400 million to families in just 10 weeks. And we reached more than 100,000 families, many of whom had never applied before. And when we looked back on it, 50% of our clients were people of color. So equitable outcomes are possible. We are excited for this year for 3 reasons. One, it's time to share all the tools that we have learned in Get CTC to be able to do it even better this year. We just released a report on the best outreach practices of last year. You can go to our website at codeforamerica.org to be able to see that. The second piece is we are up and running with getyourrefund.org in partnership with VITA, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. Shout out to our VITA partners out there. And there we want to make sure that we're helping families navigate to the best place to get tax preparation services. And also, just like last year, we're going to follow families that are having the hardest time being able to apply, and we'll continue to build tech solutions throughout the year and communicate what's to come. Lastly, I want to end with this, which is I am excited to be here because this is the second year of the child tax credit. But I'm even more excited that this is the second year of building systems for a new generation that meet people exactly where they are, treat people with dignity and respect, and achieve equitable outcomes. Because that's what government should be. And that's how we can tackle child poverty in this country. And so I am appreciative of you caring about this work with us, and excited and honored to be here with my passionate partners from the AARP Foundation and United Way. And so with that, I welcome Lisa Marsh Ryerson, President of AARP Foundation.
It is so terrific to be with everyone today for this United Day of Action. Special thank you to Jean, to Mr. Sperling, and also a thank you to Vice President Harris and to Secretary Yellen for this opportunity to join with my colleagues here in DC today and around the nation in your call to action and your continuing commitment to providing tax relief for more American households. For more than half a century, AARP volunteers have helped tens of millions of low and moderate income Americans file their taxes free of charge. In fact, I'm proud to share that at AARP Foundation, we offer the largest volunteer-run tax preparation service in the nation. We started in 1968 with only 4 volunteers working at just one location. And this year, we will have thousands of IRS certified volunteers serving low to moderate income taxpayers at over 3,500 locations. These locations are in your neighborhood libraries, and malls, and banks, community centers, and senior centers nationwide. Last year, almost 26,000 AARP Foundation tax aid volunteers helped more than 1 million people navigate the complicated tax codes, ensure proper credits and deductions, and file both their federal and state returns. Our tax aid volunteers, who are so dedicated, helped these individuals get back nearly $700 million in income tax refunds and more than $60 million in earned income tax credits. And we know that the earned income tax credit lifts 5 to 6 million people out of poverty, including 3 million children, as has been noted today. But about 20% of eligible individuals still don't claim the EITC, including an estimated 5 million individuals living in underserved communities. As a result, more than $7 billion goes unclaimed. This, of course, not only hurts those individuals and their families, but also their communities and local businesses. Older workers have been hit especially hard by the pandemic. So you can imagine we are delighted that now people age 65 and older are eligible to receive the EITC for the very first time. And as has been noted, it will take time to solve for senior poverty. This is an important benefit, one that must continue. We've already launched our 2022 marketing campaign. We've developed new tools and resources, including hackathons with HBCUs to expand awareness of the new EITC eligibility criteria and ensure that eligible older workers file for EITC. We're working on expanding local capacity as well. We've provided grants to community-based organizations in Greenville, South Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Detroit, Michigan, to help us raise awareness of the expanded eligibility for older workers in African American and Hispanic communities. We're really pleased, I want to repeat that for the first time ever, older workers, older low-wage workers, age 65 and above, are not barred from claiming the EITC by an unfair age limit on this credit. So know that we stand with you, our colleague organizations, as good neighbors. We're here today to say that AARP Foundation and our thousands of talented and dedicated volunteers are ready and willing to lift a hand up to help you file. A huge thank you to Vice President Harris for leading us today, and of course to the entire Biden administration for this opportunity to increase awareness of these critical tax credits. Thank you, and now I'm delighted to welcome my good colleague, Angela Williams, who is President and CEO of United Way.
Thank you, Vice President Harris, Secretary Yellen, and Mr. Sperling for your leadership in this wonderful effort. It's also my pleasure to be here with my fellow leaders, Amanda Renteria and Lisa Ryerson. I'm honored to be here today to share how United Way is supporting the 2022 tax season in communities throughout the country. Economic mobility is one of United Way's focus areas. We believe that the first step in helping individuals and families advance to help them stabilize their finances is through projects like these. One of the ways we do this is to ensure that families get all the tax credits that they are due. United Way has been providing free tax filing services since 2009. This year, we are focused on helping people claim their child tax credit and earned income tax credit. as well as economic income payments that they may have missed. And this year, for the first time, My Free Taxes is available in Spanish. Since 2009, we have helped more than 1.3 million taxpayers use United Way's myfreetaxes.com to claim nearly $2 billion in refunds and save $260 million in filing fees. Through nearly 4,000 sites, United Way and our partners provide volunteer income tax assistance, VITA, services online and in person. IRS certified volunteers provide free income tax return preparation to low and moderate income households. Both My Free Taxes and our VITA sites are underpinned by the critical support of 211. People can access these services by calling 211, which is a 3-digit number for information and referrals to social services and other assistance. More than 200 211 agencies across the United States stand ready to answer more than 40 million calls a year, helping callers to access local resources and services, including tax preparation. 211 support is available in over 180 languages. United Way is proud to partner with the White House to help U.S. taxpayers access free resources and tax credits. Thank you. And it's now my pleasure to turn it back over to Jean Sperling.
Thank you, Angela. We are now going to Zoom you to two parts of our country where mayors are taking leadership and taking action, both today on our day of action, but also through the tax filing season. We're going to go to Hartford, Connecticut, where we're going to, with Mayor Luke Bronin, the mayor of Hartford. I have known Luke for many, many years, admired him. He is quite a person, a U.S. Navy veteran who served in Afghanistan, a Rhodes Scholar, former top Treasury official. He has done tremendous things in Hartford to revitalize economic development, expand opportunity from his youth service corps to his reentry welcome center. So we're going to go first to Luke, and then after Luke, we're going to go to a different part of the country, to Kansas City, with Mayor Quentin Lucas, who's often known as Mayor Q. Is the youngest mayor in the history of Kansas City, the first mayor in the country to implement a zero fare transit initiative, and is chairing the U.S. Conference of Mayors section on criminal and social justice initiative. So we're really honored to have them with VITA volunteers and others who are helping people sign up. So I'm going to go first to Mayor Bronin in Hartford, and then Mayor, please turn the floor over when you're done to Mayor Q from Kansas City. Thank you.
Dean, it is great to see you, and thanks for that kind introduction. And it's an incredible honor to be here with Vice President Harris, Secretary Yellen. Cannot say thank you enough to the entire Biden-Harris administration for what you have done to expand the earned income tax credit, to expand and make refundable the child tax credit, and for everything that you're doing now to make sure that we get the word out and make it as easy as possible for every family who's eligible for these tax credits to get these tax credits. I also want to give a big shout out to our own congressional delegation here in Connecticut, including Rosa DeLauro, who's been a champion of the child tax credit for decades and helped lead that fight. We're so lucky to have all of our congressional delegation united in that effort. And I want to thank all of you for what you're doing to make sure that this tax credit continues in the future. We're here at the Albany Avenue Library branch of the Hartford Public Library in the North Hartford Promise Zone. This is a beautiful, vibrant, diverse neighborhood. It's also a neighborhood where thousands of kids and their families are eligible for the child tax credit, and for whom it can make a life-changing difference. Joined by so many people here, and I'm going to get to mention some of them, but one of them is Nordia. She is a single mom, lives in this neighborhood. 3 of her kids are eligible for the child tax credit. She's got 1 kid under 6, 2 under 18. And I was talking with her about the difference that it made in her life and in their life, and it's huge. She works hard. She's a single mom. She is a sales rep at a local company. The child tax credit made it possible and made it easier to not have to make those difficult decisions between whether to buy groceries or pay the rent on time, whether to buy school supplies or get health care. And although she's working hard every single day, she, like thousands and thousands of others in our small city, are living paycheck to paycheck. And these child tax credit resources make a huge difference in just creating a little bit of breathing room and making sure that kids get what they need to be healthy. That's always important, but it's never been more important than right now when we've all got to be focused on the wellness of our kids in the wake of what we've been through. So as a city, we are engaged in a citywide effort to spread the word about the earned income tax credit and the child tax credit. I've got some amazing partners here. We have, for many years, had a tremendously powerful volunteer income tax assistance program, led, of course, by the United Way, with amazing partners here like the Village for Families and Children and the Human Resources Agencies, local partners like the Upper Albany Neighborhood Collaborative, and then the amazing volunteers, people like Naomi McCoy, who couldn't be with us, but she's been doing this volunteer work for more than 2 decades. John Perkins is with us, who has been delivering volunteer income tax assistance for more than a decade. And altogether, that's made it possible for nearly 10,000 people a year to get help filing their taxes and getting those tax credits. We're partnering with churches, hospitals, our school system, everybody we can to get the word out. And as we just heard, we want to make sure everybody knows that if you need that help, you can call 211 to learn about the assistance that's available to you. You can go to the childtaxcredit.gov website, which is incredibly user-friendly. And if you're here in Hartford, you can come to Dollars and Cents Day at the Hartford Public Library on February 19th, one of a number of efforts to spread the word out in our community. So I want to say thank you again to all of our partners. Thank you so much, Vice President Harris. Thank you to you and President Biden for the work you've done. Thanks to the entire team. And Gene, I just want to say personally to you and your team, thanks for your incredible responsiveness in reaching out to local government, listening to local government, and working together to make sure that we expand access and make this process as easy as possible. Again, privileged to be here. Thanks to all of our partners. And now it's a pleasure to turn this over to my colleague, Quentin Lucas of Kansas City. Mayor Lucas, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mayor, and thank you everyone for Hartford for the work that you're doing. I am here with our talented city staff here in Kansas City. Everybody wave, because here in the Midwest, we're known for good barbecue, good football, hospitality, and hardworking people. And part of how we have looked to help support both the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit is to use some of the models that we've used throughout the pandemic. We have an emergency rental assistance program center. We saw that even though we had millions of dollars going onto the streets to help support emergency rental assistance and utility assistance, a lot of folks weren't able to find it. So we stood up a center here in Kansas City where folks could call, where folks could come in for help and get the resources they need. As we look at expanding access to the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit, we're using that same resource from a local government perspective to ensure that it's not just United Way and our nonprofits, but it's also City Hall, each and every day, making sure that we make a difference. And so we want to ensure that there's a one-stop shop. Sometimes people, when they may be struggling or when they may need support, don't know what to ask for. So we're making sure if they're calling Kansas City government about emergency rental assistance, or perhaps just calling our 311 city helpline to report a pothole, they also have a chance to get into a conversation about this important resource for all of them. We recognize that making sure people have access to something is just as important as passing a bill. That's why I appreciate the focus today from Vice President Harris, Secretary Yellen, and Mr. Sperling that make sure that we're doing the work to get the child tax credit and money into the hands of more family, more children, to address childhood poverty, and to make sure that families in Kansas City and all around America can do better and be supported by this important and vital program. So on behalf of all of us in Kansas City, our families, our workforce, and so many more, thank you for creating this opportunity today. And we look forward to supporting more folks as we continue on our action. Now I turn it over to Deirdre Schiffling to talk more about our efforts.
Thank you so much, Mayor. My name is Deirdre Schiefling. I'm the Advocacy Director in the White House Office of Political Strategy and Outreach, and I'm so excited to get to share some videos of some of our partners' incredible work. But first, I just want to acknowledge the incredible leadership and tireless work of all of the organizations in the Child Tax Credit Working Group, and the role of Economic Security Project in convening these groups every week for many months to strategize and plan together on how to best reach all kinds of people to encourage them to sign up for the CTC and the EITC. This is not easy work. There's a lot of fear, trepidation, and the need to build trust. We've learned so much together and are still learning every day. It's been a very inspiring and very humbling experience to get to work closely with all of you. It will take all of us and more to achieve our shared goal of ensuring every single family and person has the support they need to thrive. The 4 groups we are spotlighting today have all worked constantly to help families and individuals access the CTC and the EITC in different ways and in different communities across the country. And we are so excited to share their work with you today. You will hear from Feeding America, who are using their network of food banks to reach people across the country and in rural areas. Youth Development Institute, who are ensuring Puerto Rican families can access these tax credits. Think of Us, who are reaching out to thousands of foster kids as they come of age. And the Children's Defense Fund, who is leveraging their formidable network to reach families in a variety of ways. We appreciate all of our partners. We are in awe of your work and so grateful for our deep partnership. Thank you.
My name is Alia Jawani, and I work for Feeding America. Our mission is an America where no one is hungry. To achieve this, we're working to remove the barriers to food security. We know that households with limited assets face tough decisions about whether to spend limited resources on things like rent, healthcare, or food. For many Americans, solving hunger starts with key actions like filing your tax return. That's why Feeding America is committed to increasing awareness of free tax prep services and tax credits like the CTC and the EITC. We're committed to sharing resources with our network of nearly 200 food banks, and through them, there are 60,000 food distribution partners, and engage them around tax outreach through network-wide webinars and online discussion boards. We're committed to leveraging the experience and reach of our network members engaging in SNAP application assistance and invite them to participate in direct outreach related to free tax prep services. To support their efforts, we will use discretionary funds to pay their costs for printing and distributing outreach flyers to the people they serve. And finally, we're committed to sharing materials around tax outreach directly with external audiences through new content on our public-facing website, through text messages directly to people facing hunger, and through our national social media platforms. Through our collaborative efforts, we hope that this tax season brings a much-needed financial boost and a fuller table to millions of Americans across the country.
Hola, my name is Carmen Isaura Rodriguez. I'm an advocacy director at the Instituto del Desarrollo de la Juventud, an organization focused solely on reducing child poverty in Puerto Rico. For the first time, most families in Puerto Rico will be eligible to claim the child tax credit. By claiming this benefit, local families living in poverty will be able to increase their household income by 53%. This is monumental. To increase awareness, we've recently launched a massive campaign which includes the website reintegroctc.com, where families can obtain Puerto Rico-specific information on how to access this credit. Local influencers are helping us spread the word. We've reached out to our allies across Puerto Rico to coordinate strategies for outreach and free tax prep services. And we've created an advocacy toolkit with content that can be distributed to communities and through social media. With the help of dozens of collaborators such as United Way of Puerto Rico, Unidos US, and Banco Popular, we will continue making sure that families are empowered to seize this opportunity for the well-being of their children. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sixto Cancel, the founder and CEO of Think of Us, a nonprofit focused on transforming the foster care system. Youth who age out of foster care often leave without the support system that they need to thrive, meaning that they are more likely to experience homelessness, unemployment, and disconnection from school. In a pandemic, it means that young people from foster care were some of the hardest hit. Recognizing that, the Biden-Harris administration and Congress included important provisions in the American Rescue Plan Act that would temporarily allow young people who are homeless and young people who are aging out of foster care to receive the federal income tax credit. Because of this tax credit is refundable, this means real money in the pockets of young people who really need it. Thousands of young people have told us what they need, from rent, tuition, to pay their bills, to fixing their cars so that they can get to work. Now they have a real chance of getting what they need. Think of us as proud to join the White House and the Treasury in their day of action. We are committing to directly contacting 22,000 young people to make sure that they are aware that they may be eligible for several $1,000s in this tax credit. In addition, we'll be providing marketing support to 44 state foster care systems. Please join us in getting young people what they need.
Thank you, President Biden and Vice President Harris, for your partnership in getting resources into the homes of children and families who need them most. For nearly 50 years, the Children's Defense Fund has worked toward the vision of a nation where marginalized children flourish, leaders prioritize their well-being, and communities wield the power to ensure they thrive. The Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Tax Credit are powerful tools for realizing that vision, but only if families act to claim them. That's why CDF, along with 90 partners in the Automatic Benefit for Children, or ABC Coalition, have been distributing flyers, saturating social media, hosting webinars with service providers, and working with local agencies to text families, all with a single message. These tax credits are available to provide real dollars to meet real needs for you and your household. All families need to do is file your taxes. So please do so today for our children.
I want to thank everybody who has participated today, but mostly I want to thank the literally hundreds and hundreds of organizations, of which you've just heard from a few, that have pledged on this EITC Child Tax Credit Day of Action to take ongoing steps during the filing season to get every American what they deserve and are eligible for right now to improve their lives. This is about reducing child poverty. It is about rewarding work for the hardest pressed families. And as President Biden says, it is often just about giving that family a little breathing room in the tough chore of making ends meet and raising your family, caring for your loved ones. This is what the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit can mean for so many millions. Let us know tangibly, how can we partner? What more can we do? This is not one and done. This is the launch. This is the launch of action by so many organizations, by so many parts of our government, by the mayors you've seen, and by us here at the White House. Please use, as you saw, the childtaxcredit.gov. It is a one-stop to help us make sure that we can get everybody signed up. I got to just quickly thank the incredible partners at the White House, from Deidre and her team to Josh Dixon, and the amazing work he's done for this event. Michael George Raheny and the Vice President's team. On my team, Maggie Polachek, Lorena, Luke McGowan, and Julie Rodriguez helped us get these tremendous mayors. Julie Siegel, Tom West, and the whole Treasury team. And I also just have to thank Ian Malol and Jeff Underwood. They are the masterminds who put together, of the South Court team that put together these beautiful events, and none of this would be possible without them. Thank you. Again, this is not one and done. This is a day of action to pledge additional action going forward. We look forward to being your partners. Thank you for participating.